This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the invasion of the remake, and happy goddamn New Year!
Woohoo!
It's finally fucking over. 2016, the disaster that it was.
I don't
is
know.
Over.
I worried
Hello,
that it was
Trish.
the beginning. Hello. I worry it was.
I wonder if I think the world is beginning to end. It's the beginning of the end of the world, I think.
Hello, Sam.
we're on that bobsled to hell right now.
I hope you guys had a great Christmas.
Yeah,
We do too.
Yes, we're pre-recording.
true. But you know what? I'm thinking of the food I'm going to have, and I'm anticipating ahead that food is great.
Yes, so I'm going to say my dinner was awesome,
Yeah.
I'm counting on that.
and I got great stuff, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
It was exactly what I wanted.
So to celebrate the disaster of 2016, we thought we'd bring in the new year with the movie set in the new year on New Year's Eve, The Poseidon Adventure.
We found
That really does say it all, isn't it? A disaster movie for 2016.
the
Yes.
illustration of
The
2016.
illustration. This is our metaphor for the year of 2016.
Only a handful of famous people make it out.
It's true.
It is truly an appropriate metaphor when you really look at it that way, isn't it?
A ship full of people, 10 kind of decide to survive, and only
Yeah.
6 make it out, and that is true for both movies we are doing today. Poseidon Adventure from 1972 and Poseidon Remake from 2006. And yes, we are ignoring the 2005
Yes.
television movie.
Please.
Wait, because television doesn't count. We don't
It
talk
doesn't
television
count.
here.
Yes, we talked about that in our 0 episode. So if you have a problem with that, go back to listen to the episode. We told you, nah.
Because, God, if we took TV, this would be just too much.
That's right. The Poseidon Adventure, 1972, directed by Ronald Neame, who also did another disaster movie called Meteor, and Scrooge, to stay festive, from 1970, along with Irwin Allen. Irwin Allen became kind of the master of disaster, but man, he was big for television. Huge television developer. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Towering Inferno, Lost in Space, The Swarm, lots of disaster movies in there, and he was like a big deal in the 70s.
And you can see why when you watch this movie.
Yeah, and this
Oh,
was...
for 1972, it's great.
Yeah, this was an expensive movie, actually, for 1972. $5 million. Grossed $93.3 million in 72. I didn't do the math, but that's going to be a lot when you account for inflation. So
No, it did really freaking well.
yeah, really freaking well. And spawned a sequel, which is bizarre because the boat's gone.
Yeah.
So I never got a chance to watch Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, but I don't want to.
See, and I always thought maybe the only way you could do a sequel is like, oh no, we just made another boat, named it the Poseidon, and it happened again.
Yes.
That's sort of what I imagine happened.
Starring Gene Hackman. This is a huge all-star cast, by the way.
Yes.
Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters, who I just adore Shelley Winters.
Yes.
My God. She put on 35 pounds to do this role, and then she bitch she can never take it off after that, which
Yeah.
is typical Shelley Winters.
Yes.
I love her so much.
But it's a great role.
Yeah, Red Buttons, Carol Lynley, Roddy McDowell, Stella Stevens, Leslie Nielsen, for Christ's
Yes.
sake.
For a
He's
brief part
he's
of
not
it.
there much, but he gets a big part.
Reminds you that he started out as a serious actor.
That's right. This movie did win 2 Academy Awards for Best Song and Best Visual Effects.
And Shelley Winters was nominated for an Academy Award for this.
Oh,
Yeah.
and so was Red
And she
Buttons.
should.
A lot of people were nominated for acting awards. They didn't get them, but they were
nominations
well-deserved
were there.
nominations. Yeah.
Sorry. Let's go back to Shelley Winters for just a second. Before, I sorry to interrupt you, Jay, but interesting enough, because I do too love Shelley Winters. I checked because I knew she had passed. She passed just before the remake came out.
And Red Buttons passed about 2 months after the remake came out. He attended the premiere and was gone 2 months later.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2006, 10 years ago, also not a good year.
Oh,
Any year that ends in 6 is a bad idea.
I'm guessing it's a 10-year cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, both of these greats were
They were.
quite old at that point, but
Pretty much anybody with the name Winters was A-okay on my list. Jonathan was quite something as well.
yes.
Yeah, maybe just the stuff that ends in 6. You get good movies, but a lot of death. Because 2016 had some pretty decent movies
Yeah,
and a
that's
lot
true.
of death. 2006?
Now, by
1996?
by 2006, when the Poseidon remake, it's just called Poseidon No Adventure.
Yeah.
Because it really wasn't an adventure; it was a horror story. But
Yeah, in 2006, the Poseidon. By that point, I think the world had been kind of petered out by disaster movies because they kind of had a resurgence after Independence Day, and then the Emmerichs just hammered one out every year for a few years there.
Yeah. Well, like in large disasters, there's the one where like the earth cools
Yeah.
in a huge way.
the day after tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, so
Late 90s volcano movies, Armageddon.
yeah, it just goes on and on. So there were a lot of them. The budget for that was $160 million, and it grows. Well, its opening weekend, it opened around $22 million, and it grossed $179.6 million worldwide. Which means it's a bomb because it barely made its budget back. That means it didn't even cover its advertising costs.
Kissing the line.
So, it was a disaster as a disaster movie. It was directed by Wolfgang Petersen, and it was his last directing gig up until this year. Mm-hmm. So he didn't direct for another 10 years. The screenplay is going to be very familiar to you people, especially if you're old listeners to the podcast. The screenplay is by Mark Protasiewicz, who did Thor, The Cell, our very first episode, I Am Legend, and episode 32, Old Boy, that remake as well. So he's kind of an old favorite for ours at this point.
He's Invasion of the Remake All-Star.
He is. Absolutely, we should do a Hall of Fame.
He'll be the first one in it.
He's going to be our first inductee.
He really isn't very good with original material. I think The Cell's the only one that's an original movie on that list.
Yeah.
Visually that movie is quite stunning. I think that comes down to the director, who was also a pain in the ass for most people and took a long time to get his reputation back. Because, people only put up so much before you're on the blacklist.
That's true.
That was also had a pretty good cast, starring Richard Dreyfuss, Kurt Russell, Emmy Rossum, Josh Lucas, Jacinda Barrett, Mia Maestro, Kevin Dillon. Thankfully died real fast.
Yeah.
Fucking Fergie.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a singer.
She was a singer. She's there too. And she had a bunch of scenes cut because she was having some sort of side romance with the captain of that movie.
Yeah, because they have
Andre
it at
Braugher.
the end when they when they see the windows kind of cracking in.
Yeah.
That there's this whole moment, and I'm like, that wasn't set up. at all.
there. That's in the special features. You can see some of that stuff. So, but
Do you want to?
It doesn't change anything. You don't. Nobody cares.
I don't know. I like Andre Braugher. I'll watch him do some stuff.
I've actually liked Fergie as an actor, so I wouldn't mind seeing more. But she was there as courtesy from the record company.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what was that one she was in? 9, I think. That was musical. She was really good in that.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Well, when you
It's
consider
really
that she started out as a voice actress, I mean, she was the voice of Sally on Peanuts.
She was on the Mickey
I didn't
Mouse
know
Club.
that.
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know nothing about Fergie, apparently. Mm-hmm. She was in the Grindhouse movie. I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so, big disaster movie. The original Poseidon Adventure in 1972 was primarily the ship it was designed on was the Queen Mary, which has been retired, and the designs for the CGI ship for the other one was designed around the Queen Mary 2.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So,
A little tie in there.
Yeah.
So let's get the shitty facts out of the way.
Well, yeah. Very modernized. Yeah, there's the only one downside I say of like the 1972 one was like the kind of animated stuff showing the water at the beginning, like the storm outside the window. I'm like, that's just animated and it's terrible.
Wow.
1972, though, right?
1972.
Well, 1972 animation, they can do better.
I don't know. I thought that kid was crazy, too.
Oh, the kid was insane.
And was the worst actor in that movie. By the
Oh,
way.
yes.
I don't know what it is about older movies and just casting kids. No, just cast a kid. We don't care if he can act. Just cast a kid. That seems to happen a lot when we do an older movie, and we always hate how the kids are acting. Whereas the kid in the remake was actually a really capable actor.
I think the part of it too is I mean, as much as I loved the 1972 movie, there's a lot of overacting happening.
Gene Hackman is just going like 110
As
all
is
the
Ernest
time.
Borgnine.
Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine, I found him really hard to take in this movie.
Oh,
Yeah, I
and
did
Ernest
too.
Borgnine's wife all the time.
Yes.
Shelley, I think that's why I love Shelley Winters so much in this movie, because her and Jack Albertson, they are subtle.
Yes.
They are measured. They are really good.
Compared to Borgnine, I thought Stella Stevens was quite restrained.
But Ernest Borgnine, that's how he acts. That's
Yeah.
his style. So
Granted, poor Stella Stevens running around in her underwear that whole movie. So.
Yeah.
Well, when they talk about the reason for doing so, I know it's kind of to get a little leg out there, but I'm like, I get it. I kind of get it. You can't be running around in an evening gown.
Yeah, she had an evening gown, and she only had.
they
her
justified
underwear
it very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all part of the plot. Like everything kind of works.
And I don't know what the young girl had for like her evening gown where there's shorts underneath.
Yeah.
I want that evening gown. That's so practical.
Who was Pamela Sue Martin?
Yes,
By the way.
Yes.
from Dallas, right?
Dallas, and wasn't she?
Or Dynasty. I can't remember. She was one in
Yeah.
1980s, like
Yeah.
one of those night serials.
Yes. Wasn't she part of the Partridge Family too? Or was that somebody else I'm thinking of?
Susan Day.
Susan Day. Sorry, I knew I was mixing those two up.
I don't know. You're older than me.
I am. Yes.
Oh,
and
I
about to be
recognize
older
her.
still.
Yes.
Oh, yes. But not so much. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Happy upcoming birthday, or for the people listening, happy birthday that just happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know time is so confusing when you're pre-recording, so you can get some time off on
It's
the holidays.
kind of like time traveling.
Yep. And we get to do that every week.
We are speaking to you from the past. And so far, as far as we know, nobody else has died in 2016.
Everything is fine so far. If you're listening to this in your bunker,
Do
well,
not
I
panic.
guess shit went bad.
Despite our intro, do not panic. Okay, you know what? I'm going to run the trailer for the Poseidon Adventure, and we will be back shortly to, talk and stuff.
What is it, Lookout?
I never saw anything like it. An enormous wall of water coming towards us.
In the early morning hours of New Year's Eve, Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Lynley, Roddy McDowell, Stella Stevens, Shelley Winters, Jack Albertson, Pamela Sue Martin, Arthur O'Connell, Eric Shea, and Leslie Nielsen were aboard the SS Poseidon when it was hit by a 90-foot tidal wave. Oh, my God.
And capsized. The Poseidon Adventure. The most exciting escape adventure of our time.
Now follow me.
It took the lives of the 1,400 people on board and changed the lives of the few who would survive.
Climbing to another deck will kill you all.
And sitting on our butts is not going to save us either.
Don't look down.
Now there's a chance for me to do something that I know how to do. Please, but you gotta let me do.
You're going the wrong way, damn it! Who do you think you are, God himself?
That's the way out.
The combined talents of 15 Academy Award winners bring you Irwin Allen's production of The Poseidon Adventure, a Ronald Neame film, coming from 20th Century Fox.
All right, that's the Poseidon Adventure. Oh, man. Great cast in this movie. Classic. I got it. I actually was surprised. I was looking through my collection. I'm like, yes, I own it.
Nice.
It was in my Fox 75th anniversary collection. And
I'm jealous
man,
of your
I
special feature.
I have to go through and watch some more of those. So I have a lot of good movies I don't even know I have.
Nice.
That is the best position to be in.
It is. It's so good.
So, have either of you seen this movie before this?
I'd seen it before. I didn't really remember it when going through, except for that ending, because I remember being really mad about it, and I'm still mad about it.
I'm kind of with you on the ending of this one because I remember seeing this. I probably was about 8 or 9 years old, and it was playing on TV. It was one of those Sunday night movies, and I remember how tense this movie made me. And when I was rewatching it for the podcast, I'm like, wow, I still feel that tension. Like I was really impressed by the way that still carries through, even as an adult, where you're less susceptible to that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I don't really remember when or how I saw it, but I definitely knew that ending. So I'd seen it at some point as a kid, and didn't leave an impression with me as a kid. But I really enjoyed it as an adult. So.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think I saw part of it on TV. I don't think I've even seen the whole movie. What I remembered was, like, the water going through where Leslie Nielsen and everybody was at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Don't remember much of anything else, but I kind of remember them going up over the bottom of the boat at the end, and that's all I remembered. So I must have seen it at some point.
There was a special feature on my disc where I could an icon would pop up, and it would tell me exactly where they were in the ship.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, and who was still alive. I'm like, this is awesome.
That is the best feature.
I know, right? I mean, there was dick all for features on that disc, but that was awesome.
I want to see that done in a horror movie.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like in a house, who's alive and where they are in the house.
I like it. It could be like one of those reality horror shows, right?
Yeah.
You do it on a weekly basis. You could have the little icon popping up and giving you the status updates.
Ooh, and then you could do like the pop-up video thing. Fun fact, this torture room is outfitted with special Italian leather.
That you can buy on Amazon.
Now, I can totally understand why this movie was expensive, because they're basically having to build sets upside down, although they were clever with their sets. So, like that main ballroom, if you noticed those big pillars, top to bottom, they're kind of the same. So when they flip things, it took less set dressing because you could just take things off the walls and reposition them. So you can see where they kind of cut corners on how to do some of the set dressing. But then there's the other sets that you actually had to hydraulically lower into water. Mm-hmm. And most of these actors did wind up doing their own stunts as well. So
in 1972, not surprising, especially water stunts and stuff like that. Yeah.
In fact, Shelley Winters trained with an former Olympian, for her water stuff, for swimming, because she is supposed to be a former athlete despite being older and overweight. And she does. She looks great underwater. Like she looks like it takes to it like it's second nature. So all that training definitely pays off for her character.
She really committed to this role. I mean, she put on the weight. She did the training. Like, you got to be impressed with that, especially since she put on weight while training.
Yes. That's exactly it. I mean, you're trying to train to be a swimmer and put on weight, and then poor girl couldn't take it off again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Weight's not kind. It doesn't like you.
Yeah. But thank God she was always cute, no matter what size she was.
And she was lovely. Like, I love the line is like, underwater I'm a skinny woman. Like, how it doesn't make a difference because she can hold her breath longer than anybody.
Yeah.
She was trained to do that. She knew how to do that. And she was a very strong swimmer. This wasn't a problem for her.
Yeah, there's plenty of times where she didn't want to go on. And I'm glad they gave her more things to do as things changed. Initially, it was supposed to be Reverend Scott who saves her underwater, and she gets stuck. And he's like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And she's been getting saved and pushed a lot already. And it didn't make much sense for his character.
Oh, yeah.
So it was her who rescued him, and I'm like, oh, that made for a much better sequence in that movie.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And it was a nice break from his very bullish, we do things my way type of deal. Yeah. Like, it was a nice switch off. You had a breather from it. Otherwise, I think you would probably be like, when he dies at the end, you're like, yahoo.
Yeah, Gene Hackman's a very interesting character because he's got a very strange take on faith. Like he's talking to the chaplain on the ship, and who's more traditional with the collar and stuff. This guy's in a sweater, and he's kind of like a rock and roll type of.
Oh, he's the cool pastor who plays a guitar. And...
Yeah,
it's a little overdone. All fire and brimstone. That's what the like. He's very fire. Like when he speaks, it's he has that fire and brimstone preachery way of talking.
Well, when we do see him giving his sermon. And that was, I think, very important to his character, is the chaplain says, well, the problem with your sermon is you were only speaking to the strong.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot within this movie because you can see him having conflict with weaker personalities.
Yeah.
And conflict with other strong personalities as well. But it's almost hateful to the ones that are weak.
Yeah. Yeah,
because it takes a long time to turn him.
Yeah. His character wasn't particularly likable.
No.
No, but he goes through hell and high water to save them.
Yes.
And he tries to save everybody. That was very frustrating to see all those people in the ballroom. And And I get that you would have faith in the technology you're in. You want to listen to your purser. That's what you're told to do before you go on the ship, is listen to the people around you. But, there was sense because you guys are underwater and you should get above water. That totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. And having lived on a cruise ship...
Yes, I wanted to come to that because we have an expert in the room. Sam was on a ship for 9 months.
For 9 months I lived on a cruise ship, yeah. And... I will tell you that you have to go through safety drills and all these things that you're supposed to do in the event of an emergency. They don't cover the ship fucking flipping over, just to let you know. Because modern ships, unless you have like a real freak accident, aren't going to flip over like that.
Right.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. You're supposed to have all that ballast on the bottom,
ballast and stabilizers.
Well, they talk about the ballast in the initial scene because they're already going through a rough storm and there's kind of touchy. They want to fill more, the ballasts more. And this is one of those somebody owns the cruise line, happens to be there, giving them the wrong orders and being unsafe, and against captain's wishes.
Well, isn't the problem that they can't fill the ballast because the pumps that would possibly get water out of the ballast don't work, so it's too dangerous to fill them up without any ability to get it out?
Yeah,
I thought that's what they were getting at.
I'm going to take you on that one because I was kind of confused at what they were talking about.
Yeah, no, what they were... you're right. He said, as soon as those pumps are fixed, I'm filling up with more ballast.
Yes.
Right. So, either the pumps to bring the water in or the pumps to push the water out weren't working, but there was a mechanical problem that...
Right.
There was literally a problem with the ballast.
Whereas this, representative from the company is trying to... It's like, well, we pay your salary. The captain, that bugged me a little bit because it's the captain's duty to keep everybody safe, regardless of who you're working for. Like, he made the wrong decision there because he put his paycheck over people's lives, knowing full well, you might not survive that either. Why would you even make that choice? I would have totally ignored this little asshole.
I don't know if it's so much the paycheck. It's just the fact that I think he just got so frustrated. He's like, fine, if I die, I die, but I'm taking you with me. That's sort of the impression I got.
Well, they're at the top, so we don't even get to see them drown. They're just, we know they're gone.
Because it looked like there's nothing he could say to this guy. Be like, okay, so you want this boat here on this date, so we have to hurry up. Or do you want the whole thing destroyed and it never gets there? Because those are really the two options you're looking at right now.
Yeah. Now, Rogue Waves may sound like a movie idea, but they're not. I did look it up. Rogue Waves maybe happen about 100 times in a year. They used to think it was like once in a freak thing, like once every 10,000 years. But with more modern tracking technology and stuff, they happen quite frequently. But they're still freakish, though.
They're still freakish, but half the time most of the time you don't know they're going to happen because there's nothing around for them to impact.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, what was it? Okay, in the 1972, the reason the wave happened was because there was a earthquake off the coast of Athens. That's what caused the rogue wave. In the remake, it's just literally a rogue wave, which I had a problem with. In the original, they have, their instruments are picking it up. They know it's coming. And in the remake, they have all the instruments in the world, but none of them are going off.
No, it's one guy's intuition. He's holding on, I think he says, something doesn't feel right.
You have a superhero captain somehow.
No, the captain was in the ballroom. That was one of his other guys.
It was like a first officer or something like that. Yeah.
No. In the remake.
Oh, yeah, the remake.
In the remake, the guy's like, do you feel that? Like he can sense it somehow?
That's not the
captain. Okay. The guy can somehow sense it.
Yeah.
Whoever's in there.
That bugged me that the captain wasn't on the bridge and was actually in the ballroom instead.
That's actually what would have happened.
Yeah, he would have been...
Yeah, the captain is usually present at these big events.
Okay.
That's part of his role, is his glad handing. He has first and second officers who usually man the bridge during these events.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why they called him to the bridge.
Yes.
So he has a little thing. I like that. I want that. I feel like he's going, this dinner party's going terrible. Just somebody call me.
I got to entertain this kid.
Yeah.
I got to go to the bridge. Trish, we're in a house. I got to go to the bridge.
But and that's why sitting at the captain's table is a big deal. And gala events, the captain is present. He is the big guy on the ship, right? Mm-hmm. So he's kind of required to be president. Half his job is PR.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most ship captains, by the way, are not American. They're Italian.
Why?
Ooh.
I'm not sure. But on the cruise line I worked with, we had 3 captains. They were all Italian. And just anecdotally, I had heard that's more common than not.
Oh, that's weird. If anybody knows about that, tell me about it.
I don't know.
Send me some info about that, because I kind of want to know.
So do I.
Remake at gmail.com.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I know that's, at least in the 90s, that was...
All the best pirates were Italian?
Yeah.
I don't know, or maybe they just have a large, or maybe because of a lot of the ships go to Italy, and that's where they dock a lot, so maybe it's just that, where they land. Like, they should be Greek and Italian, because a lot of cruise lines go down there.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know why that makes logical sense, or is at least a reasonable extrapolation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just pulling that out of my ass. I don't even know if it's even true.
Yeah. Although when the rogue wave comes and then he says, "Oh my God, pull a hard left," that doesn't sound like proper ship instructions.
No, it should be port, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's port, starboard, and like aft is
Bow and stern.
bow and stern. That's it. I can never get the front and back right.
Aft is still appropriate for the stern.
Okay.
Forward and aft, yeah.
Although I think the average person, if they were told to go one way or the other, they probably would know. But the people on the bridge should know.
Yeah.
Just
well, we
saying.
used to play a game when I was growing up. We'd use port and starboard just in the car because
Yeah.
it was fun.
Immediately, actually, when I was noticing, even in the quiet moments of the early part of the film, I really liked how the camera would sway.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
You could
because
feel it.
you know you're on sets for the most part for these things. So to have the camera sway, but not like the whole thing sway, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I'm not exactly sure how they pulled that out in 1972 because I don't think they had Steadicams yet. So somebody jerry-rigged something, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it did give you that sense of being at sea with them.
Yeah,
That heavy motion of the boat.
it's not overdone, but it's enough to give you the sense of waves.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, I will say that my one beef about the original is the introduction to all the characters was really long.
Yeah.
There seemed like a lot of extra shit there.
Well, they're trying to make these people seem like people before you get to the action. And I get that. That is a problem when you're doing an ensemble cast with a big disaster thing and still trying to give a shit about the characters you're looking at. So you're trying to make them people. And for the most part, I was kind of making the connection that most of the characters were either running to something or away from something, whether it was a wedding or trying to get away from something in their lives. You know, Red Buttons is running on that ship, and Shelley Winters makes a comment that he's lonely. And the Rosens were on their way to see their new grandson.
Yeah, who's two.
There's two, yes.
Hadn't seen
and
him
they'd
yet.
never seen him. And they were going to... Israel, thank you.
Gene Hackman's character was running from his own questioning of his own faith.
Well,
Or running
he basically, the church had enough of him and was throwing him into Africa.
Yeah, they're like,
And,
we'll send him far away with people we don't really care about. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
so
how we deal with stuff.
They think it's a punishment, and he's like, no, this is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So he's pretty upbeat about it all.
Because what's weirdly is the type of preacher he is, or like, I think he's a priest, because I think that's more of a Catholic thing. The type of priest that he is actually would work better where he's getting sent there. Like, the other guy, he's having an argument, like, just pray harder, you'll live, like, you'll get all the food and shelter you need. No, you have to go out and do it. So, like, if they send him to Africa, he's going to do more good there than any of their other half-ass guys that think that prayer is all you freaking need.
Yeah.
It's literally the best for him and where they're sending him.
Oh yeah, certainly understood where he was coming from in terms of his method for reaching people.
And that was kind of like, is this really a cruise ship or was this a transport ship? You know, it does feel like a cruise ship, but it's not in the traditional sense where it feels like a holiday. Like, this is a destination. It's an alternative to taking an airplane.
Well, I think in 1970... Well, when was it? Okay, 1972 is when it was released, but is it actually set in 1972?
Pretty close
like
to it.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
Like,
you look at the
even if it's
fashion and stuff
late,
like that.
even if it's late 60s, I think it was still a viable option to take a ship.
Yeah, cruising was in the 70s and stuff like that wasn't the tourist holiday that it is now, right? It was a method of travel, right?
Right.
Whereas instead of being like a floating hotel, which they were, but they were long distance voyages from right, rather than a specific vacation.
Yeah. Now, when I saw the opening shot of the Queen Mary, aka the Poseidon, I kept thinking, like, man, this looks very military to me, this ship. And turns out they did use it to transport troops in World War II as the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
So I did a little research on the Queen Mary. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense now that I made that connection, because it did kind of look military to me, whereas the remake totally looks like a cruise ship.
Yeah. Well, it was
The
like
Love Boat.
I know, right? Well, I mean, at that point too, like when you're transporting troops in like that wartime area, it was like you kind of used whatever boats you had. Like the government came along and said, "Okay, guys, we need you to do this." They're like, "Okay, government contract, we'll do that."
Yeah.
Or we'll pitch in. It's both things.
Yeah, I don't think it was designed as a military ship, but it's old enough that, it
There wasn't much variation in ship design.
Yeah.
Right.
Even when we were kids in the 80s, pretty much all those cruise ships looked the goddamn same. So
Yeah, and I mean, there's only so many ways you can design a boat, really, where they're not going to look similar, right? But yeah, certainly I think shipbuilding techniques have come a long way, and they do look sleeker and more elegant
Inviting.
now. Inviting, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Inviting, than the stuff from the 60s and 70s would have, because they still would have been based on basically that same military warship type of design.
Well, like you talk about them floating hotels, now the purpose is to stay on the boat and be entertained and just take day trips off the boat. But most of the time you're just on that boat, so the point is to make that as luxurious as possible, so you're just there most of the time.
Yeah, right. And I mean, you can see that difference in just by looking at the staterooms that they show you in the remake versus the staterooms you see in the original.
Yeah, although from what I understand, I don't know, I haven't been on a boat, but if you're wealthy, you get the nice staterooms in a boat, but the ones in like the original, I'm like, that seems like a reasonably sized room.
Ernest Borgnine and Stella Stevens' room was still pretty large.
Yeah, like that's why I thought they all seemed fairly big for rooms.
They did, and I was actually kind of surprised. I'll be honest, with my knowledge of cruise ships, that a police captain and his ex-prostitute wife would have that luxurious of a room.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about.
And I got to admit, I love that whole suppository dialogue in that scene. In that scene, I laughed. I thought that was freaking hilarious. I know what to do with them.
Well, at the end of it too, I myself, I was thinking, I'm like going, yeah, if you are nauseous and you can't keep it down, that is obviously the best option.
Yeah. But I found it very entertaining.
So good.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned the Rogos because I wanted to talk about them, but you just did. So let's round out the cast, the main crew here in the film. Red Buttons was James Martin, and I'm guessing he was widowed?
I'm not sure.
Here's what I took away from it, is Mrs. Rosen is asking him why he's not married. And when he says he doesn't have time, there's like a sadness there, and I don't know if they were hinting at the fact that he was homosexual, so he literally couldn't get married. Yeah. So that was really the problem, but he couldn't say that.
Yeah, and I got the feeling, especially when you see that early jog of his and the very flamboyant way he was running, and I got the feeling they were trying to make the character a homosexual character. But
risky in the
I mean, even in 1972, they were being really subtle about it.
But
I guess subtle and not subtle at the same time. Because let's face it, Red Button's performance, especially during that jog, was over the top. But
true,
but it was funny.
But there's other parts of it too, where there's like hints of it, like those bits of sadness that are like really subtle, and that's sort of what kind of really won me over to that way of thinking. And Shelley Winters doesn't get it, and that's also a sad part. Yeah,
and he at least finds some purpose by finding somebody to be a little more parental with. And with that Noni. Was with Noni Perry, and that was played by Carol Lynley. And she loses her brother during the initial turn as the ship flipped in the ballroom.
Yeah, and I think it was sort of they kind of paired up because he could see like she doesn't have anybody. Yeah, he sees she doesn't have anybody. He's like, I don't have anybody. It's not so bad, but I'll take care of her.
Yeah. Well, and I think he saw that she really did not know how to take care of herself. Through dialogue, they made it clear that she really relied on her brother for everything.
Oh God! As we get further along, I keep writing more and more things like, Noni is useless. What good is she?
I know.
Why is she here? She can't swim. If you can't swim, why go on a boat?
Well, because on cruise ships, you're generally not supposed to think they're going to sink at any point. And you just get into a life jacket, and that's what happens. Like, I don't know how to fix a plane, but I'll still go on one.
That's true.
You can't fly by yourself, but you still go on planes, yeah?
I like how he approaches it, though. You don't have to swim. You just have to hold on to me, and I'll get you there, and that's fine.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why Noni was there. She was there to help him with his growth.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. She was a means to an end.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was fairly obvious she was going to die during the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, she was unquestionably the one that was most clearly fodder.
Yeah.
But she still survives.
Yeah, that's just the thing. That's why it was so surprising. I'm like, oh, she did make it. Wow.
And I didn't realize that.
All goes to Red Button's character.
Yes.
Right? Is his strength is what carried her through, right?
Yes.
Exactly. He knew how to talk to her, how to reason with her.
Yeah. And now he died in the shaft?
No, Red Buttons lives.
Does he live?
He does.
He makes it to the very end.
Oh, he does. Oh, I'm getting everybody confused.
No, Roddy McDowell dies in the shaft.
That's right. It was the same death as
Freddie Rodriguez.
Freddie Rodriguez, yeah, Marco in the remake.
Although it's weird, like his
Valentine.
is like that boiling water, which is like that scene in Deep Blue Sea, and there's a shark swimming around in the bottom and the water's coming in and rising up. Do you remember that part?
I do, yeah.
That's what I kept thinking of when Roddy McDowell would like, oh no, there's a shark in there. That's what I kept thinking. But I'm like, wrong movie.
This wasn't bad enough.
No, exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
This whole situation just wasn't nearly threatening enough.
I'm completely surprised they
There's
didn't
a
have
shark
sharks.
chasing them through the hallways.
Yeah, why
Different
they
movie,
didn't have sharks?
Trish. Different movie.
I know, but they should have.
No.
I'm surprised
no, they
Wolfgang
shouldn't.
Petersen didn't.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There
This is a
maybe.
surprise.
But yeah, these characters are all fairly in conflict with each other. Akers also joins them. He was a purser, helps them up out of the ballroom. This is also an important scene because it's the first time Reverend Scott he feels he can't reach these people. They won't listen to him. They're choosing the other authority figures on the ship, which makes sense, a certain kind of sense. They're putting trust in the people who actually work on the ship.
Yeah, and the purser's sitting there going, "We will be rescued."
Yeah,
and they have no reason to not believe him.
Yeah, and they did come. Unfortunately, you guys were in a bad spot.
See, and that's what I can't quite, that all boggles my mind in both movies, is you're in this ballroom and you don't think that water's coming in?
It also boggled my mind when they find that other group of people and they're going to a part of the boat that's underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that strikes me as another bit of, I don't know.
That's lemming behavior.
Yeah.
2016 hasn't really surprised me in human stupidity.
Well, that's true. I mean, and you're right. It's you can see that every day by, just go to the mall right now and you get a group of people going into a door. There's 6 or 7 doors you can go into, but they all want to shuffle into that one door.
Exactly.
And that is exactly what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of use your head. If you're in a boat and it's sinking, you want to be walking uphill because that's the part that's going to be out of the water.
That's right.
That's right.
Just, I don't know, just the simplest things.
Yeah, and that is the purpose. He's got these 10 people, and they are trying to make it to the engine room where the thinnest part of the hull is, and hopefully can get through and get on top of the boat and hopefully get rescued. And that's as simple as that. And 10 people turned into 6 by the end of it. There's a lot of conflict between Gene Hackman and Ernest Borgnine, Mike Rogo. I think because they're both used to being the authority figures. I mean, it doesn't help that Rogo's constantly arguing with his wife, who's got goo-goo eyes for Gene Hackman's Reverend Scott.
And so was the very, very
All the
young
girls
Pamela Sue.
Yeah, all the girls are really into Reverend Scott.
Well, he's got that really sexy, shoulder popping out of his shirt for half of it. What girls wear as dresses
I'm guessing
now.
Reverend Scott was not celibate.
I'm guessing that a lot.
Yeah.
He was a rock and roll priest, but...
Now Reverend Scott was actually supposed to be Gene Wilder. He turned it down.
That would be a very different movie.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Very different movie.
Actually, in the last movie we did, Trading Places, also was supposed to be Gene Wilder.
Maybe
and Richard Pryor.
You know what? He's an all-star for movies that he doesn't go in.
It's like all month long has been Gene Wilder, whether we wanted it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
It'd have been interesting. I would have liked to see him do something like this. But.
Again, he's another one of those actors who started out as a serious actor, just like Leslie Nielsen, and moved into comedy and was very successful there.
Yeah. But, given how his career went, he was fine. He made some good choices. So.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one with Gene Hackman in it, I just kept thinking the whole time, I'm like, this is how Lex loses his hair.
There were times where I was thinking that I'm like, wow, this is where the genesis of his Lex Luthor character came from.
Really, yeah.
So much so. I could see so much Lex Luthor in this character.
Somebody's staying behind, Miss Tessmacher!
Yeah.
Get up here!
Miss Tessmacher. Well, I feel that he lost his hair when he went to Africa and he found diamonds there, and that's how he got wealthy.
He actually survived that drop into
yeah.
the fiery water, and his hair burned off.
Absolutely. That's what happened.
That's what happened. True story.
Yep.
There we go. Origin of Lex Luthor.
Yes.
It's not what you think.
Yeah, it was the Poseidon Adventure. It has nothing to do with Superman.
No. Superman was around and would have rescued all their asses.
Oh no! Don't you know? Like this is why I hate Superman movies. Crap happens in the world all the time. Unless your name is Lois fucking Lane, you fucking die. He couldn't
Oh, that's
give a
right.
shit.
If you're going to go on vacation, make sure Lois Lane is with you.
Yeah, just rent her out because he gives no shits about humanity. Unless your name is Lois Lane.
That's right. Superman, zero shits.
Or his mom. Ma can't. Unless you're those two people, don't bother.
That's right. So they're working their way up. There's also the Shelbys, which is Robin and Susan Shelby, the sister brother. They're fairly young, like to be on the ship by themselves.
Well, I don't know. I kind of thought
wasn't sure
she
what
was
their purpose was.
15, 16, and they were going to meet their parents.
They were on their way home to join their parents.
Yeah, like she was the chaperone to her younger brother, which is why they probably could be on their own.
Yeah, well, and that kid liked to stray
and
explore. That's shown right away when they're in the big storm and he makes his way to the bridge anyway.
What the hell?
You crazy little shit.
I know. What happens if you just die? She's like, sorry, Mom.
But
I'm your
one
only
thing I
child
do have
now.
to say is he had a purpose. Like that character had a purpose the whole way through the movie. Mm-hmm. He knew more about the ship than anybody else because of his inquisitiveness.
Yeah, he was definitely a nerd about it. Now there was an interesting sequence in their stateroom when they're told to get sit at the captain's table, and his toy Poseidon thing that he was playing with capsizes. Foreshadowing the entire movie.
I totally missed
that too.
So cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
You got to keep your eyes open for the subtlety sometimes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty clever stuff there. Considering most of this is just a survival movie.
Yeah, I mean they go from one horrible experience to another, and somehow manage to get past that horrible experience or roadblock.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get into too many of those specific details. Much of the deaths are very similar. They happen to different characters in the remake. Mm-hmm. The characters are different characters in the remake, though. Yeah. Although they are very similar in how they're presented.
They change a bit of the stories.
You know, in a way, I think they took the elements and then just kind of shifted things around from person to person. Now, in the remake, we got Richard Dreyfuss, who is kind of Red Button's character. I think he's meant to be that character. There's something going on. He's estranged from his wife.
He's gay.
His family.
His gay lover.
Oh, he's gay lover. Yeah. Oh, and
this is why I thought he was Red Buttons because
he phones and not getting that message back, and I guess they had a tradition about calling each other at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, and during the party, he's about ready to
kill himself.
He was going to jump off that boat, and then
saw
the big ass wave and. Like, I don't know, if you're that committed, just go. But I guess he's like, yeah, no, I can wait.
Yeah, I think it's a weird thing. Sometimes when, faced with the possibility of dying, you're like, oh, I guess I do kind of want to live. Surprise.
Yeah. And he's definitely got a lot of purpose. He's helping people to survive this thing, and that gives him more purpose. His elements are very simple in the remake.
And he does fulfill the Red Buttons Noni relationship with Elena.
Yes, absolutely. Elena, who stows away on this ship, and man, what a wasted plot line there. She stows away, and she's been stowed away by Freddie Rodriguez's Marco Valentin. I was led to believe they had a relationship. Nope, she just kind of slept her way onto the ship to get to where she wanted to go and had no connection whatsoever. And despite the fact that Richard Dreyfuss is partially responsible for that character's death, but it never comes back around. Man, talk about something that was emotionally impactful that just went nowhere.
Yes.
such a waste.
I know.
Like, if they'd made that guy her brother or something, and
that's
that comes back around.
That's what I thought he was. I thought he was her brother or cousin or something. I thought he was family.
You know, and that would have been something to kind of give Dreyfuss some kind of anguish. And God knows that character's going through enough. But, man, talk about something that got completely wasted and left on the floor. Like, that would have
because
been
considering
so good.
how he dies, that would make that more impactful once he gets to Elena.
Absolutely, because he feels there's some redemption, and that's why he's even more protective of her, is because he feels responsible for the death of a family member or a lover. Who knows? But they didn't do it, so what the fuck? Whatever. It seems so obvious too when you're watching it.
Oh yeah,
fuck.
Yeah,
that was so irritating.
Yeah, that really blew my mind.
And there's Kurt Russell, who's Robert Ramsey, also father of Emmy Rossum's character, Jennifer Ramsey, who is engaged to Christian, who doesn't deserve a last name, Mike Vogel.
His character was so confusing because when I first see him, he looks like a massive douchebag. Like, that's what I thought he was supposed to be. And as you go through the movie, I'm like going, oh my God.
So little character.
Yeah, but I look at her and I'm like, oh, he's too good for you. Like, because he really does take on that hero role. And I'm like going, and she's kind of a pain in the ass. And I'm like, it really flips those two characters for me.
That was kind of fun to watch, though. I enjoyed that.
But but I got so confused.
I thought his leg was going to be injured like Akers was in the original film. But he lasts a long time. Like, I didn't think he
lasts till the end.
He gets go to the end, but I'm like, and that leg doesn't seem to bother him despite being pinned. He's limping. He limps for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
so
that I couldn't quite get around.
He had movie healing. But Kurt Russell in particular, Robert Ramsey, not only is a former firefighter, but the former mayor of New York, because firefighter wasn't enough.
I know.
Why? Okay. Why?
Oh, well, then let's talk about Josh Lucas as well.
One big why about Kurt Russell in this movie. I'm like, why did you do it, Kurt?
Yeah. I mean, I still love him, but...
You know what? This is probably one of the few times where I did not enjoy watching him.
I still liked him, but he's such an overbearing dad. But it's tough for him to not be charming. I just enjoy watching Kurt Russell.
I'll watch him in anything, but I think it's partly because they had to make him... Here's the stupid thing. I think this is how they justified it. He was a fireman, which makes him so he knows stuff, because he's got to know stuff. He can't not know stuff. He could either be the fireman or the mayor, but they're like, oh, crap, no, he's got to be a fireman because he's got to know stuff. But then partway through, they're thinking like, oh, but he needs to be the mayor because he needs to be wealthy enough to afford that stateroom as well as hang out with Josh
And that's
Lucas.
just it. You know, everybody kind of had to be rich to be on this boat.
Yes.
And he's also well known. And if you're sitting in the captain's table, you're just not going to be no schmo. You're going to be somebody.
Exactly.
So it's irritating. It's forced.
Yes.
But whatever. I mean, and being the mayor, it meant nothing.
No.
Nothing whatsoever.
No.
It was about the wealth. Being mayor just meant the wealth.
Unless they were trying to do like some sort of 9/11 reference. And make him a heroic mayor of some sort, but they don't. So what is the point?
They hinted at trying to do that, but I'm sure there's a
there.
draft that did happen.
I'm thinking that maybe he was a firefighter during that time, and that's how he became mayor, heroic firefighter from that time. This is the backstory's happening in my head, but they don't do it.
And because the timelines are too tight.
Yeah.
And in that same draft...
Yeah, this is a shorter movie.
Yeah.
In that same draft, they also actually do something with that relationship between him and his daughter. Because we can tell it's strained, but we have no fucking idea. Yeah. And I, quite frankly, couldn't care less partway through. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere, so why should I give a crap?
Yeah. Now, Dillon Johns, Josh Lucas.
Oh, fuck.
Who is a lot happier when he was poor, apparently.
In a suit full of lies.
Yeah, he really is just kind of out for himself, and he's going to go up to the upper ground, and everybody just kind of follows him because he doesn't want to be responsible for anybody.
Oh, and he's the kid's character where he knows all about the boats because he, as well as a professional gambler, used to be in the Navy.
Yes, because everybody had to be some sort of heroic thing.
Yeah, he's a Navy guy who's wealthy for some reason.
I don't know. I just found his character entirely unlikable, like literally all the way through the movie.
Here's another actor who I like watching.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's terrible in this movie. And him and Jacinda Barrett, let's just have a ready-made family all of a sudden. Why?
I was kind of that's especially that end sequence where he's getting sucked into that hole. I'm like, oh, well, he's got...
I thought he was going to die.
And then he's okay, and I'm like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, me too.
See, if he got sucked into the hole, that would have made this movie much better.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. Sacrifice?
Yeah, your two lead characters in this movie are Kurt Russell and Gene Hackman, and both have that sacrificial death, but Josh Lucas is doing more of the heroic stuff, and I thought should have been that character, and especially when he's like, God knows he should have been snapped in half with that suction.
Yes. He should have died. How great would that have been?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been horrible, but yes, it should have happened.
And then you have
because he's literally puts himself, somebody who's been fairly selfish. He's the one who tells Richard Dreyfuss to kick off Marco in that elevator shaft when the water and that flash fire's coming up to them, like it was going to kill them. Oh no, it was the elevators coming down on them. So, but there's all sorts of shit underneath them too. It's double jeopardy. Everything had to be
really horrible.
Oh God, yeah,
super heightened, in the vent with the water coming up. Had to have that super.
Oh yeah, and then the engine falls down, and now you got this stream of flaming fuel. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes! Talking because it wasn't enough jeopardy.
See, this is why I expected.
I would have hated this as a video game.
Yeah,
this is why I expected sharks in the Wolfgang Petersen movie.
No
that is
kidding,
another
right?
thing that should have happened.
Now, the two James, it was Jacinda Barrett was Maggie James, and then there was little Jimmy Bennett, who was Connor James. Mm-hmm. That kind of fulfills the brother-sister role as well. And their father dies in the ballroom. Well, no, there were actually two levels, because they had the disco and the ballroom.
She's his mother.
Oh, right. Sorry. You're right.
It's
totally.
not a brother's. That's why it's a
right.
ready-made family with Josh Lucas, is because now he can bang Jacinda Barrett. Now he has a son all of a sudden.
Right.
But they do a Rush Hour thing. I really appreciated the Rush Hour jumping off the piano to save the kid with the curtain.
I think that kind of covers everybody. And there was Fergie, who was Gloria, and she was the lounge singer. And there was something there that, again, another thing that got hit the cutting room floor with the captain.
Which, to me, if you're going to cut it, don't bring in the other scenes after it where it kind of comes together.
Well, here's the end of your B plot, but you don't have the beginning of it. So, or I guess it'd been C or D.
You don't have the A, B, or C part to get to the end.
But, these guys were all stayed in the room, so they were all going to drown anyway. So,
yeah. And let's talk about
well, you know what? Hold that thought.
Playing the trailer?
I'm going to play the trailer because now we've gone through that cast and made some comparisons to who they are from movie to movie, despite being different names. Let's run that trailer, and we'll get to what Sam was thinking about.
May you all have clear sailing in all the years to come.
I'd like you to call me at midnight for old time's sake.
I think I don't want to wear it.
I don't know. I'm starting to wonder.
New Year's is never what you expect, is it?
Happiest time of my life is when I was broke. All in.
You think he's bluffing you on it? I think this is going to be a very interesting night.
Something's off.
This is not the last moment of your lives. We will be safe.
You think you can get us off this boat?
I can.
Let's stick together and help each other find a way out.
Ships weren't designed to stay afloat upside down.
I'm within my authority to compel you to stay.
Don't think you can stop me.
I got an access hatch here!
We don't know where it goes.
If we stay here, we drown.
Just reach out!
I'm never gonna leave you. It's the only way out.
I need you to tell me that you love me.
There's nothing fair about who lives and who dies.
All right, now where we left off is Sam was going to tell us one of his big pet peeves, other than me cutting him off with the trailer.
That didn't bother me so much, no. And I do remember what I was going to say. And of course, this little factoid would have kept the entire movie from happening, pretty much, is when the captain says, well, I have to close those bulkhead doors. No, he wouldn't. Those bulkhead doors close automatically. They never would have been able to get out of that room because bulkhead doors shut automatically when there's an accident to prevent water from moving from compartment to compartment. So, therefore, the movie wouldn't have happened.
That also reminded me of pet peeve from the original movie. Shut the fucking hatches behind you, you dumbasses.
Yes.
That could have saved them a lot of pain and suffering a couple times.
Yeah, no shit.
Because, cruise ships in particular, and I'm assuming that like other ships as well, are designed in compartments so that you can seal them off to slow down sinking, stop sinking.
Yeah, maintain your buoyancy, because you can have those things flooded, but with those air pockets, that keeps it afloat, right?
That's right, yeah. So yeah, movie probably would never have happened if they followed that. But I mean, this movie was made after my time on the cruise ship, so.
And there you go. Yeah. So that technology was already in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't close slowly; they close fast. Like you barely have enough time to get through one if you need to.
What if somebody got chopped in half trying to get out? Oh yeah.
Chopped in half and then a flash fire.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so
half a cooked guy, half a raw guy.
Yeah, they don't take very long to close at all. Right?
Wow.
So yeah, that was a little when the captain ordered them closed. I'm like,
well, that was how it should have ended. Now we have nothing to talk about.
Oh, okay. Well, God, it's been a good one, guys.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm glad you didn't say that an hour ago.
Yes.
Yeah. This would have been a really awkward podcast.
Yeah, no, I waited, as I said.
But to be fair, you said those were in the boats that you were on. Maybe the 1972 one didn't have that.
Oh, 1972, I didn't have an issue with that because I don't know enough about how the safety features in 1972.
Well, there we go.
But the one in 2006, yes, it did bug me because my experience predates the making of this movie.
Now, at the end of the remake, when they finally get out, and there's a floating raft out there that's inflated, ready, waiting for them. Where the fuck did that come from?
That came up in an earlier scene because I remember looking at it when at one point it sort of tips and it looks like it's going to right itself and then it goes back over. That happened like early on because I saw it come off. Like I don't know who launched it. I don't know where it came from. They put it in. There's a scene where you see that just kind of thrown off somehow.
Okay, well they needed to put somebody there to do it because
they did.
Yeah, I did not catch it.
I caught it.
I was so mad.
I was literally, what the fuck?
Oh, for me it was the Chekhov's gun moment. I'm like, I see that little raft. That's going to be fine. But and it's somehow going to magically stay in that same area and not move.
I did like in the original where they're getting close and they do rummage for some supplies because they could be out there for a while even if they do get out there. And nobody did that in this one. They only thought of escape and not about survival once they did.
And the funny thing is that rummage for supplies would have made a lot more sense to one of my other things that really bugged me about this movie is when Connor disappears and there's that whole rescue scene when he's locked in that cage somehow.
How did he get in there?
Why the fuck was he not with his mother?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the kid's an idiot.
Well, the kid's straight. It's similar to the other scene where he goes to the washroom and then there's the boat, again, shifts and there's some explosions and stuff. But at least...
But it makes less sense in the remake.
Yeah, there's a lot less sense. And, I mean... Yeah, I just didn't know how he got in there in the first place.
This is the optimal movie where you kill the child. Because just, A, it's a big emotional impact, and B, the kid kind of deserves it.
Yeah, because I just, like I said, I didn't understand how the kid got in there, didn't understand why the kid had gone so far away from his mother.
Yeah. At least in the original, the kid logic is really on point.
Yeah.
Because he's scavenging.
He's scavenging, but he's like, what were you in there? He's like, I needed to pee. But, you think about it, all the toilets are upside down.
And he realized that when he gets in there.
So nauseous, because, like, the toilets are upside down.
Yeah.
Like, what is he wading through?
Nothing. There's no water in those toilets.
There's no water in those toilets? Okay. I'm just thinking of, like...
But there was water coming through those toilets.
Yeah.
There was, yeah.
Like, what fecal matter might still be residue in there? I'm just saying.
Oh, that's 1972, so I don't know how they function, but
Okay, yeah, well, another interesting fact of the original cast is Actually, not the original cast. The Wolfgang Petersen remake is a lot of them got sick because they were wading through a lot of dirty water.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. It looks dirty.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them got minor infections and things like that because of the water.
Man, you need to do better water.
Workplace safety. Workplace safety, right?
I mean, when you think you're working in tanks and stuff, you'd think you'd fill with fresh water. But...
And in deep blue sea, a lot of people almost died. But they at least they didn't get infections from what I understand. Like there's two parts. The one with the little, where the water's coming up, the kind of pipe, and they're climbing up. That
I guess we're going to have to do this episode because she really wants to talk about this movie.
I do want to talk to you, see. But there's the also point like where the windows all give way and it's that big rush of water. And they did that in Deep Blue Sea with the big window.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's the ballroom windows crack in the remake. Now,
yeah, which probably would have happened.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, those windows are way, way above sea level normally.
They're not meant to be waterproof and...
Well, they are. There's
underneath water, right?
But they're not meant to be underneath water, under that kind of pressure, no.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when you think about how tall these ships are, they're far enough under.
You would think the captain would have thought of that looking when they're walking on the skylights.
Yeah, there's the whole ballroom scene there was... The fact that, they are walking on skylights and stuff like that.
And Wolfgang Petersen's no stranger to disaster movies, but apparently logic does not apply to his particular disaster movies.
No. Well, it doesn't apply to a lot of disaster movies, full stop.
I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. But eventually what would happen if those if those bulkhead doors had worked as planned, they would have reached a certain point where the water would have stopped rising because the bulkhead doors would have trapped it.
Yeah. Would they have had bulkhead doors over top of things like the skylights and things?
No, again, because those were never meant to be underwater.
Right.
So
they don't plan for a boat flip.
No, because cruise ships flipping
shouldn't happen.
Are a movie device. I don't think I've ever heard of a cruise ship
flipping. The thing is, I thought about it, and if they had driven into it, they would have had a lot better chance.
Well, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to drive into it.
But they didn't get nearly far enough. They got sideswiped by the thing.
Yeah, because those things
they were mid-turn.
Yeah, because those things don't turn very fast.
But Leslie Nielsen was facing it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have kept going.
Ended up shooting the curl on that last one.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say that they don't flip over because there's that one just off the coast of Italy, and it did turn almost all the way over. But I was more on its.
It was on its side.
It's on its side, yeah, which would be normal if you had.
Which would trap people as well. It would be the same type of deal.
Yeah, but I don't know that a cruise ship would ever actually flip entirely over. I think it's just the way that they're designed. I don't know if they could or not.
Yeah, well, I think most of them would keep some sort of ballast in there. They wouldn't be as top heavy as, at least in the original, they mentioned the top heaviness, which kind of
makes more sense. Yeah.
Did you ever get to go into those engine rooms?
No, I never, because those were below. Those are like deck 1 and deck 0 basically, and no, I did see the engine room once. I can't remember why I was down there, but I did see the engine room once.
Because I was kind of wondering if the ballasts room worked the way Wolfgang.
Well, the ballasts don't. Their ballasts actually are not above the engine room, and that's the way they were in this remake. They would not have been. They'd not.
Well, it's supposed to be the lowest point.
They're the lowest point, and they're actually go part of the way up the walls of the lower decks.
Well, they wouldn't have been. The ballast room was the last room they were in, and then we did see engines falling through other areas, so the engines were actually above the ballast room.
Oh, that's because they were getting to the...
But they had to flood the ballast room in the remake to get to the next ballast room.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because they came from above, then they had to go down, which would be up. Right? To the engine room?
It was so confusing doing my notes. They're going up, but they're going down.
Yeah, no, they weren't going to the engine room, though. They were going to the propellers.
They were heading to the propellers in the remake, and then they were heading to the engine room in the other one, in the original.
Yeah, and they didn't really get into the whole ballast room thing in the original.
Well, let's go back to the original. Yeah. Now, when Reverend Scott is in the engine room, and then there's that steam valve that busts open through the door, in front of the door they have to go to, and he has to jump over to the valve and then kind of do this jump thing to kind of turn
do a trapeze.
Yeah. Yes. And that was kind of frustrating to me because nobody joined him up there. Nobody helped him. I'm like, he sacrifices himself like Obi-Wan style. He just kind of tells Rogo to get everybody through the door and then let's go. But wait a minute. You didn't try to swing over. Nobody went up there to try to grab him. If he tried to swing, he could have lived through this moment.
his whole through line was life is so precious. Don't give up. That was his entire through line.
I know.
I felt his last moments were like, I give up.
Yeah, he curses out God, and then he, stops the valve, and then sacrifices himself. Like, he died faithless.
Yeah.
It was so... He died a broken man, whereas everybody else kind of grew his characters. He died broken in his faith. That bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a religious guy.
Shelley Winters
bothered
fractured it
me.
quite a bit before that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because he's like, of all the people, you take the one that saved me? Like, fuck you. He got mad.
Yeah, he did. And Kurt Russell does a similar sacrifice. They have to swim back to the control room.
But it's too far.
To reverse the turbines. And it's too far. Somebody's not coming back.
It's a one-way trip.
Yeah. Now, Christian thinks he might make it because he's the swim guy. Much like Shelley Winters, he's the champion swimmer.
But he wasn't. He lied. There's a conversation between him and the daughter. And she says, "You were never on the swim team." He says, "I know."
Ah.
Right,
but the purpose of that was to have her give him the kid because he doesn't think the mother would let him do that.
Oh no, there was the lie had purpose, right?
Yeah.
But they revealed that he was lying later on, right?
It wasn't a stupid lie. It was one lie.
Yeah. So while he's saying his kind of goodbyes to her, Kurt Russell he's gone. He goes and does it.
Exactly.
Because he always intended to.
Yeah, he always intended to.
It's the Armageddon death.
Yeah. Yeah. But watching him drown was tragic.
And it was so good. It was so well done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you actually felt your heart break just a little bit.
It did.
When that first twitch happens, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, or when he gets there, he's like, the button.
Yeah.
And there's no button. Like, yeah, that would be a panic moment.
Yeah.
Like, you're twitching and you're dying for nothing.
Well, the thing is, you
ass.
think he's stopping the engines, and the turbines stop for a little bit, like slow down, stop, but they do have to go through that reverse cycle. So everybody thinks they stopped, and then they start back up, and you're like, oh, no.
Actually, I wasn't, because I saw that he was just changing direction on them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, he just changed direction on them. I don't know how good that's going to do until I saw what they were doing with it. It was creating suction instead of forcing out air, right?
Yeah. But
I didn't figure that out.
that's where Josh Lucas should have bought it.
Yeah, for sure.
He should have bought it. He really should have died.
Yeah. Like, that was another sacrificial death moment that, I mean, he didn't need to live.
No, he really didn't want him to, because even after his connection with with Connor and his mother, I still didn't buy it.
Oh, hell
no. I didn't think he grew enough. He was. I mean,
I didn't understand why they liked him.
I did kind of admire how pragmatic he was. Like, it's not like he told Dreyfuss, Richard Nelson, to kick off Marco with in disdain or anything. Like, it was.
I have to save at least one of you.
Yeah,
one of you was to go.
I can't save you both, and one of you has to go, kind of thing. And it's a hard decision to make. And I would have liked to seen him haunted by that decision more. I mean, Dreyfuss is a bit.
Yeah.
But it does go away. Like, both characters should have been haunted by that.
Which is why the Elena thing had to be dealt with.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Like, there's so many missed moments in this remake that could have elevated it past its progenitor.
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. It fell into that trap of, it's like, well, let's take you from one exciting scene to another exciting scene to another exciting scene without developing anything between those scenes.
Oh yeah,
right?
like it suffered. Then the whole thing is like, I want to see this in a movie. I want to see this in a movie. I want to see this in a movie, and they're basically just beats that you're going through.
So many of these action movies, they fall into that formula of these disaster action movies, fall in that formula, and it's always about the people, and then they forget to do it.
Yeah,
like, Walking Dead is driven by its characters, not by zombies. Like, yeah, you may complain that there were no zombies for 4 episodes, but it's not about them. Like, and zombies are inherently boring.
I think it's the one thing a lot of the time they don't understand is the disaster is the side story to everything that's happening.
It's the catalyst.
Yeah, it's the catalyst, and it's the catalyst for their emotional change. I didn't feel like anybody really changed in this movie, this remake.
No. Her boyfriend did for me, and that's the only thing.
He was the only one, and he was the least developed of the bunch.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's the only one who actually went through development through the whole thing. He actually grew.
Yeah, everybody else's characters were kind of, here's your narrative about who they are, doesn't really tell me what kind of person they are, but this is what they've done.
Yeah. I mean, Richard Dreyfuss' character did grow a little bit. I mean, he went from being clearly...
But he wasn't suicidal by the end.
Yeah, to wanting to live and I mean, he was willing to sacrifice himself for Elena. Like he went back for her, not knowing if he was going to make it back out himself, right? So he did grow, but again, nowhere near as much as her boyfriend.
Yeah. And God knows, I mean, that he never wanted to kick off Marco. Like,
no.
Talk about some drama that just went nowhere.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there was nowhere for Kurt Russell's character to go.
No. When you've been mayor of New York and champion firefighter, you're like, what do you have to learn? Like, he's a very nice person for the most part, other than being an overbearing parent. Yeah. He's very agreeable with Josh Lucas. You don't have that constant antagonistic thing, this competition of we should go this way or go this way. They're just like, that sounds like a good idea. And you've done really good, son.
But that's the other thing about it too, is they don't. The story was him and his daughter and why they are so kind of estranged from each other, and they introduce it and do nothing with it.
Nope, nothing.
Zip zilch nada. There's more of a love story between Kurt Russell and her boyfriend.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
I would have taken that wedding ring.
Like, their relationship deepens in a way that I don't think his and his daughters ever got to.
Yeah.
I can't fault that because it's kind of true.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it does make sense because that's where the tension was between them.
Yeah, but then his daughter just becomes some incidental thing.
Yeah, she just serves no purpose after that.
Well, because there's that one scene where he's gambling at the table.
He's got to reconcile the fact that he's losing his daughter to somebody else.
But
and it's not really a loss. It's just
her life is changing.
Letting
she
go
was
as a parent.
always going to grow up.
Yeah.
There is no stopping that.
And it's so weak.
There's another subtext there because when he's sitting at the table there and he's gambling against Josh Lucas, and he's got that huge bet on the table, and she's hinting that that he shouldn't be at the table. That he's right. So there's something else happening there that never really gets addressed.
Yeah, like maybe he had a gambling problem and that's why her mother left.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the most generic throwaway character of Lucky Larry.
Ooh.
You didn't think I was going to forget about Lucky Larry.
Another Invasion of the Remake all-star from The Blob.
Yeah. Kevin Dillon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. We're all over the place. You guys got a lot of catching up to do if you haven't watched and listened to any of those episodes. Mm-hmm. And The Blob is not on YouTube, so you got to go find that on iTunes or one of our other providers. So.
Yes. Lucky Larry.
Lucky Larry.
You knew he was going to die.
The pinstripe mustache, the overbearing sexualness of them all, just hitting on people when there's a disaster. Like, oh, God, he's so smarmy that why bother? Like, it's so generic.
And I thought, like, I had a tiny glimmer of hope in the nightclub when he helps the girls get her boyfriend loose. I'm like, okay, so maybe there might be some layers here. And then they just discard that.
No.
Completely.
And you're so happy when the engine falls on him.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, God, I'm glad he didn't last long because, man, I couldn't have made more than a few more minutes with this dude.
Inside, you're like, it's about time. And then Josh Lucas dives from a high place with the fire hose.
Into fiery water.
Swimming under the fiery water to get out the other side.
Yeah. Oh, it's very heroic. I'm like, well, yeah, if you want to get him, all the girls going, ooh.
But it looks like 5 kinds of bullshit from where I was sitting.
No kidding. I'm like, wow, is this a action movie moment if I ever saw one?
And how long is that hose? It's not that long.
Sam, how long are fire hoses on?
I have no idea. You got me on that one.
You never measured?
No.
Oh, what the hell were you doing for 9 months?
I don't know. Yeah, you should have known back in the past that you were going to be on a podcast. You're going to be talking about ships.
I want measurements. I want statistics.
Good luck. Yeah, no, I don't know that much. Like I said, I know certain things that I needed to know to stay alive while I was living on there. That wasn't one of them.
The lifeboats then thing.
Yeah.
Okay, those have to be launched by somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you have to press, because I'm wondering about the whole lifeboat moment. We're wondering where that came from.
They won't launch by themselves, and they certainly aren't those inflatable dinghies.
Okay.
And they're not. They don't inflate by themselves.
Well, no, they do. Once they're launched, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to pull. Somebody has to
release it somehow. Yeah.
So they aren't if they're not the inflatable dinghies, are like they're
boats.
They're the wooden boats.
Well, in the original, you do see all those big wooden boats around the
a la Titanic.
Yeah, definitely.
Only they have enough.
Yeah, and those, I would imagine a lot of those would have come loose as the ship flipped, but they don't do that. So
they would have been in the water upside down.
Yeah,
not necessarily. I mean, because at least in modern ships, they're covered, right? They have a hatch so that if in inclement weather, if it's raining, they don't flood. They actually seal, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like if it falls into the water upside down,
if it comes off,
it easy.
Well, it'd still be, if it's still sealed, it would still at least be.
It should still be fine,
buoyant.
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm
not
talking
saying
about
all of them
floating
are going to
upside down.
survive.
Yeah, I mean, a large majority of them probably would have been crushed by the impact,
especially those wooden ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know because I see those dinghies in movies, right, where somebody's stranded or trapped or.
And then all these inflatable ones like the James Bond, yeah.
Oh yeah,
in red.
So they get into that inflatable thing, and then the ship starts to shift back towards them.
So then they need one more bit of danger before they get out.
Yeah, that one bugged me again. I'm like, I would have kept paddling because not only were they trying to get out away from being crushed, but what about the suction of this giant ship going down?
Nice whirlpool going.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the other thing too. Is because there would be a huge amount of suction that would pull them back towards under.
Yeah, they just stop when they think they've made it far. I'm like, you're not far enough.
Hell no.
Although, there's a cutscene and then they are. So,
yeah.
But I wouldn't have stopped rowing for the life of me.
Yeah, just keep aiming for that North Star. Just keep going, guys.
Jesus, fuck.
Yeah.
And I can see why Petersen took a break. After that. He's what the fuck did I do?
You can tell by watching the movie that there's a lot that just got left out.
Yeah.
Right?
I think he was probably... I don't think he had final cut on that movie.
No, I think a lot of it is... I think we're looking at it largely a studio notes movie where people want more explosions and they want big items and they want things to happen like this. They don't care about your characters.
Yeah, and it's just it's such a generic survival movie.
Yeah, and they took out everything that worked in the original.
Yeah,
and I agree that
they had a strong cast to do it.
Yeah, I think the problem is they fell into the Hollywood problem of always casting these younger casts, right? Because most of the cast was pretty young. You had, aside from Kurt Russell and Richard Dreyfuss, it was a much younger cast, right? True. So you don't get to develop those relationships like we did with the Rosenbergs.
Yeah,
where there's this couple that's been in love for 40 or 50 years, right? And that was really important because you really.
Oh, you totally
fell in love with them.
Yeah,
right?
You believed in their relationship, and it was just all the more tragic. Like, I can't say I was emotionally moved, other than frustration in the Wolfgang Petersen one. It's enjoyable. Like, I wouldn't tell people not to watch it, but it's not great either. Whereas, I damn near cried when Shelley Winters passed.
Yep.
On heavy medication, absolutely.
It is such an emotional scene, even not on heavy medication. Yeah. Like, man, I was so sad about that.
And what was part, I wanted a movie, when you talk about young, they always have the young pretty things. I liked, like, part of the movie was she kept kind of saying, just leave me behind. Mm-hmm. And then she gets that moment where she's like, oh, we're doing something I can do. Yeah. I am good at this. And you're like, oh, hooray. And it's so exciting, like, because she's not your lead you think of. Like the older, overweight woman I fell in love with that feistiness and the fact that her husband wouldn't let her give up.
Yeah. Now, the original, the kid would always make these kind of grandiose things that he may have done. I've got a 600-pound swordfish from Hawaii, and it was like this crack
at her weight.
At her weight, and that was upsetting. But and then he apologizes.
Oh yeah, he's like, I never wanted you to think.
That's you would think they would just pass that, but that was really despite the kid being a shitty actor, was a sweet moment.
Yeah,
that kid felt bad about that comment got taken that way.
And Shelley Winters' response was like, "This is what's happening, and that's what you're focusing on."
Yeah. But
you're a good kid.
It's a character moment.
Oh, for sure.
And
for both of them.
Yeah, for both of them. And it's all that stuff's completely missing in the other one.
Yeah.
And it's those really little moments that I really enjoyed about the original.
And when you have this group of people, like I could see how they started to become kind of more cohesive as it went on because they were like having these moments in these relationships.
And they're actually having to work together.
Yeah. The other ones, they were already a unit. It felt like they were in the military for years or something.
Yeah, like they knew each other well before this whole thing happened.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah. So not true. And it bestowed upon them a level of competency that really shouldn't have been there.
No.
Yeah. Although there was, I thought, a lost moment in the original with Linda Rogo, because she doesn't come out of her stateroom because she's afraid somebody's going to recognize her from her days as a prostitute, and she did think she recognized somebody, and then maybe they recognized her, and that doesn't play again. I don't know. I kind of wanted that moment because, again, there's something in this movie. They do give you some comedic moments.
Yes.
And see,
to break that tension that's coming.
And what I would have
put you off guard.
Exactly. And I would have liked to have had, you could have a combination moment where Gene Hackman, again, is not so fucking overbearing. And him, like, where they could have had a moment between the two of them where, like, she confesses to him that she used to do this and she doesn't feel maybe like, I don't really belong here. And he could be like, yeah, no, you're strong enough to get through this.
I kept thinking, because Gene Hackman's it's not the best reverend in the world.
That's
I kept thinking that maybe he hired her at some point in his life. I thought that, maybe there's a connection there that there was going unspoken, that they knew each other from before.
See, and you could have done that.
And that would have given something for the Reverend to redeem himself from as well. And
for her to get her husband's past it kind of, and she isn't, but it would also kind of, that tension between Gene Hackman and Ernest Borgnine, that you could have ratcheted that up just a bit for a little while.
Yeah. Well, and Rogo, he does see that his wife is attracted to the Reverend. So, yeah, that could have definitely notched it up. He's definitely a bit protective on that part. He's a bit jealous.
Yeah, I don't know how much more you could ratchet up the conflict between those two.
No. Ernest Borgnine's, man, he's so overdoing it, too. The two leads were just shooting for the stars.
But I think
they had that conflict ramped up to 150%. Like, they were just...
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, it's weird. I saw how she Ernest Borgnine and her, like how they reacted with each other. I'm like going, oh, you don't seem to like he loves her, but I'm like, but she doesn't seem to like you very much.
No, there's that one moment in the stateroom when he finally gets her out. And what did he exactly say to her?
She said...
It was sweet.
It was very sweet. She said, well, how was I supposed to know you love me? You kept arresting me. And he says, that's because that's the only way I could keep you away from other guys until I could get you to marry me.
Yeah, he arrested her 6 times. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, now that's a really weird but sweet moment. Yeah. Like, you kept arresting her to keep her off the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like his whole thing is like he kept telling her that it didn't bother him.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Like, I would have liked to have seen that sort of come to fruition before she died.
And it did bug me that then they just kept back bickering after.
Yeah,
that was such a nice moment, and then it never comes back.
No, you're right. And I think that's one of the issues I had with Borgnine's character is he only had that one moment of softness the whole movie.
Yeah, but you have that sweet relationship with the elderly couple, with the Rosens. So, and she dies. She falls right near the end into fiery water.
Almost to the very,
she
very
almost
end.
made it.
Yeah. Well,
and just the ship shifting, and it was perfectly reasonable death, too.
Yeah.
It was just...
But Borgnine still blames the Reverend anyhow.
Oh, yeah. He's calling him a murderer and stuff, because they're going and pretty much did everything he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
If it had been up to him, they would have never left the ballroom.
But isn't there a moment, am I thinking, where they hear everything happening? Or is that in the remake? They can hear people screaming.
That's in the remake.
That's in the remake? Okay.
But and I think that's why we need to see more of those soft moments. Not the whole movie.
No, not at all.
But we do need to see more of those soft moments, because you don't really buy that his reaction at the end of the movie when she dies almost seems out of character, because they've been in conflict the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
Or, I just want to see their marriage somehow get on a firmer footing.
Yeah.
Before that. They come to more of an understanding. Like, because it seems to be like she's the one who won't let go of the past, and I want to see her let go of the past a bit.
Yeah, well, their backstory just kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that being said, it's still a superior movie.
Yeah, there's
for
a
sure.
reason why it's got the infamy that it does. Infamy? No, the fame.
The fame, yeah.
It's not infamy.
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, the
There's a
remake
reason
is...
why it's successful.
I mean, there's
The remake has infamy.
There's overacting and stuff, and it may look a little cheesier by today's standards, but there's a lot more layers going on in that movie. It's still a really good movie.
And I think the sets of it were really good. I was actually really impressed by like the ballroom.
Well, and Fox was very concerned about this movie because this was not what was working at the time. You know, cheap musicals were working and raking in a ton of money. They were already kind of losing money on Irwin Allen on some of these really expensive TV shows he was doing. So Fox was really concerned, and Irwin Allen had to go find other financiers. He's like, well, what if I got financiers to put up half the money? And he literally crossed the street to some social club that he belonged to from the studio.
Oh, wow.
And he got people to invest, but then the studio never wound up spending their money. So those guys invested nothing and made a shit ton of money out of that movie.
Nice.
Irwin Allen knew how to get things done.
Yeah, like it was just the whole layout of the ship was really good as well.
Yeah.
Like getting from A to B made logical sense.
Well, yeah, and you felt like they were moving up and moving from place to place, and the way that camera
upside down
was
stairwells where they're trying to get up, and it's the roof
and
of
the
one.
John Williams score.
Yes,
this is where Spielberg saw this movie, and then kept using him over and over and over and over again.
As you should.
Yeah.
It's John frickin' Williams.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's because of this movie.
Yeah, and the music. I was going to mention the music because the music really helped create that a lot of the tension that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is the music contributed to the movie?
Yes,
right.
And it didn't overwhelm it.
Yeah.
No, it's like music should be. You don't notice it that much.
But at the time, you're like, you're so tense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's doing its job very, very well.
Yeah, but I will agree with Jay. The remake was not terrible. I wouldn't tell people not to watch it, but I don't think I'd tell people to watch it either.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like, you see it on Netflix. It's a good guilty pleasure movie, but not great either. You're not gonna, I think I did see that in the theater, but thankfully I think I got a free pass for it. So I don't remember being horribly disappointed with it, but I'm like, there's some movies when you get a screener, I'm like, well, glad I didn't pay for that.
Yeah. Piranha 3 Double D.
Yeah.
But if you want a holiday flick that's just completely mindless and maybe the whole family can just watch, it's a decent flick to do so.
Yeah, decent enough, yeah.
I mean, there's not, I don't remember too much swearing, no tits.
Yeah, well, and we struggle sometimes because this is our second holiday year, and we always think about, we want to do something with New Year's theme, and we can never come up with anything.
Not a lot of stuff. There's a few New Year's movies, but they're not as frequent as Christmas movies.
Yeah, so if you got some New Year's ideas for us for next year, it's not too early to tell us. You can certainly do that at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion the Remake on Facebook, and Invasion the Remake at gmail.com. Earballs. Get some earballs on the show. And you know that by leaving a 5-star review, any kind of review really, and rating in a review on iTunes, that does help people get their earballs on the show. It helps people find the show. And another way you can help people find the show is by telling them. Retweet us, repost us on Facebook. Just show people what you're listening to on your iPod. Does people use iPods anymore? I guess it's on your phone. Everybody's phones can do that.
I don't know.
Now.
There's a lot of Zunes out there.
Zunes. You've been looking in people's pockets again?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Play us at your parties. Play us in your car when you've got people in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Force people to listen to us.
Yeah, or use your Sonos speakers to blast them throughout your house while you have people over Christmas.
Oh, I feel like I should be getting some ad money out of that one.
I know. I'm trying. Come on, Sonos. First one's free, but after that you got to pay. We're like Jamie Lee Curtis. Trading
Throw back
places
to last week.
previous
That's
episode.
right. Call back.
I'm always calling back. Hey, I called back to the Blob episode.
Oh, man. We called back to episode 1 on this one.
Exactly.
Episode 1.
Actually, we called back to episode 0 because we talked about the TV remakes ruled.
Okay, so there was 0. There's 1. There's episode 32. And I don't remember what the Blob episode was. It was... before Old Boy.
Yeah, so it's got to be lower numbers.
That was 19. Episode 19 was The Blob.
Yep.
So there you go. Lots of stuff to backtrack on. Give us some numbers on our back catalog.
See, we got to tell them about it. That way they'll go back in time.
Yeah. See, even the older episodes are good too.
Yeah.
There was a guy here once. His name was Jeff. He did impressions.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't do impressions.
I attempt to do impressions.
You'll do them and you'll like it.
Whatever. If I
Stuff got real for a second.
Yeah, I don't have a talent for it. I'm not going to attempt it. Jeff,
that's Trish. Trish can do.
I do my best.
And they're funnier when it's coming out of a female voice. She's doing all these guys.
Christopher Walken, Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of Trump impressions this year.
They will never end.
Well, I mean, the next 4 years are going to be great for comedy.
Yeah, terrible for humanity.
Yep.
Well, we'll see about that.
Alec Baldwin's going to have a good 4 years.
Yeah, no kidding. We might see it. We're going to see a good resurgence in his career again. I think we're going to see a lot of Alec Baldwin from 2017 to whenever
2020. Yeah.
Well, I mean, assuming
to whenever Trump gets impeached,
until there's
or assassinated.
We just have to have.
Let's not.
We just have to have Tina Fey write it like a la 30 Rock. She knows how to use a Baldwin.
Oh, that sounds dirty.
I didn't think so. Get your minds out of the gutter.
We should say that to you.
I know.
Yeah, you put the image in my head in the first place.
Okay, she knows how to use an Alec Baldwin. See, now that it sounds like rhyming Cockney slang to me.
Okay, enough of that.
All right, well, I've been Jason.
I've been Sam.
I've been Trish.
Happy New Year. We're out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Gonna fight for us? But damn it, don't fight against us! Leave us alone! How many more sacrifices?